Incredible Crisis is probably the most insane, nonsensical, and amazing minigame collection you'll ever see. The original PlayStation was home to so many of these great Japanese oddities, most of which we never got to see in the States, but thankfully, we got this one. But this game is not like a Katamari game. You're not going to breeze through it while happily enjoying all the Japanese weirdness happening around you. Incredible Crisis is extremely difficult, unforgiving, and frustrating in the exact ways you would expect a classic Japanese game to be. Now, if you had to put a label on Incredible Crisis, categorize it, and stick it on a shelf, it's a minigame collection. But the way they link all those minigames together, in a way most minigame collections don't, within the game story mode, is absolutely fantastic. The cutscenes are so full of energy and just so delightfully odd. The story itself is completely nonsensical, but it was also pretty inconsequential to my enjoyment of the game. To me, as long as the game was being as weird as it could possibly be, I was fine. And it was always raising the bar. The game starts with a pretty basic dancing game, but before you know it, you're running away from a giant wrecking ball and fleeing from criminals on a snowmobile. This game goes some real places, and it's great. However, as I mentioned earlier, it's a bit of a nightmare to actually play. If you've ever played something like Mario Party, that's about the quality of gameplay you can expect here, without the board game parts to divide it up. There's a ton of mashing buttons, rotating sticks, doing the sort of things you do in Mario Party. Repeated attempts do help you eventually grasp the minigames, but it also means that by the time you move on to the next one, you'll be mentally and maybe even physically exhausted, depending on which game you just finished. But while I often found myself extremely frustrated with Incredible Crisis, and I often quit before coming back later, it's telling that I did in fact play the game to completion. Because while the game made me so unreasonably angry, I always wanted to come back and see what it was the developers of the game had in store with the next cutscene, or the next minigame. What insane approach they would be taking next. However, I will say that the game's saving system is garbage. There's only predetermined save spots, and they're few and far between. So you're going to have to redo a lot of minigames unless you use an emulator with something like save states, which is honestly how I would recommend playing this game. Replaying old minigames is sometimes easy, but it's not particularly fun. Incredible Crisis is readily available on the used game market for relatively cheap, especially if you're willing to forego Black Label or the case in its entirety. However, I will also warn you that like any timing-based game, it can become impossible to play if you have a higher latency TV. So if you've had problems in the past with games like Parappa, this one isn't going to be much better. Not all the games require precise timing, but enough do that it would probably be near unplayable. Every Monday, I look at a game that's at least 10 years old, what I would consider to be retro, and I see if it's held up today. If you like that idea, be sure to subscribe so you can see the latest videos. If you like this video in particular, be sure to hit that like button, and thanks for watching.